Variety Sound Popcast.
Bro, thank you for being here, first of all.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you for taking time out of your busy day. How busy are you these days? Like, are you working like 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day?
16 is wild. But
Okay.
12, yes.
Yeah?
By choice, though.
Yeah, by choice.
choice, yeah.
Yeah.
12 still. My usual day is actually it's a little more than 12, but we'll say noon to midnight.
Okay.
Ish.
Yeah.
It's actually a little bit before that, probably 10 a.m., but
Your
depends
shit,
on the day.
Your shit's pretty sweet, though. You got the shit down in the basement.
Yeah. I mean,
What's that like? Is it kind of like, do you have to block things out in a certain way that like you're like, I'm not available? Like, I know that I'm here and
like
you
with
see
family?
me, family or whoever.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, thankfully right now, no. But if we had like a very young child or something, I don't think they would understand like, I'm here, but I'm not here. Like, don't talk to me.
yeah.
Like, we don't,
Right.
I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
No, for sure. For sure. Bro, something that I'm really curious about is like, how did you manage to go from essentially interning to like professional mixing? Because that's what it feels like to me. I'm feeling like, so we know each other, like 10 years now, right?
Yeah.
And then that's the one thing I feel like is still kind of obscure.
The math never mathed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, it went from interning to working with Tricky and assisting for him, but then kind of becoming his engineer for some time. And the whole time I was just trying to mix. I mean, anybody who knew me, that's all I wanted to do.
That's one of the first conversations we ever had.
Yeah. It was like I would duck off a triangle and I'd be in there just looping snare sounds or something
Tricky,
like
we're
that.
talking about Tricky Stewart.
Tricky Stewart. Shout out Tricky.
Yeah.
And that's all I wanted to do. Thankfully, I will be working with songwriters like, Sick Pen and all them and producers like Pierre and stuff in the building, along with a bunch of stuff outside of the building. And I would just mix whatever I got my hands on. To me, it's Atlanta. Like, it's like a fertile ground for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So anything I could get my hands on, I just wanted to mix. One, to get better. Two, to just put my name out there. You know what I mean? And I figured if I can mix it with a certain energy behind it or a personality, somebody's going to say who did it. And that was my calling card. I'm not from here. I'm from Chicago. So when I moved out here, I looked at it very much like, you ever seen American Gangster?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
too many times.
Yeah, like Blue Magic. That's how I looked at it. Like, I'm going to give you a little bit of this.
That's hard.
And eventually you're going to come back. And it worked. I'll go to every room. I'll be at 12 studios. I would be at Patchwork, Street Execs, everywhere. And I would just walk in rooms and be like, let me mix this.
Oh, yeah?
Didn't matter the money, didn't matter anything.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's how I got to know everybody.
Okay.
Because I would just walk in the room and just be that young kid like, yo, this hard. Who's, because they be playing records, people be playing beats, and oh yeah, we just recorded this last night.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just be the one like, give me the session.
And what did that mean for you? Oh, you'd be like, you wouldn't sit there and be like, yo, let me mix. Let me put a little mix
guy
on
half the time. But if I didn't track it, I would still just walk in like shout out K Major and Pierre Bourne, Antonio Reid, all of them, like Fuse, 808 Mafia, the Loopholes, all of them. I would just walk in their rooms and say like, let me mix this. Same thing with Ink and Polo.
Okay, so but sometimes you'd be the recording engineer on the session.
That's what got me in the building. That's what got me in the room.
Sure.
Was being
but I'm saying
guy.
Like you were booked to record, say, sessions for Aaron or sessions for Pierre.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you guys got done recording, you'd be like, yo, can I mix this?
Yeah.
Like that? Or you don't have nothing to do with
it depended on the situation. If I was working with a songwriter, we would work on the song and I would just take it a step further. Nobody would ask me, but I would just do it.
Right.
If it was producers and stuff, like Pierre was an engineer at one point. He was like with Aaron and them.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just walk in those rooms and just say like, this is dope. Let me add to it. Kind of like a producer collaborator type of energy of like, oh, let me add drums to this or whatever. Like,
Right.
I would just say, let me add a mix to this.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I always tell a lot of guys too, is that you have to mix as you go as well. Like if you are the recording guy,
Yeah.
you want to be mixing as you go. And sometimes mixing is really just blending, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey man, those high stacks,
That's
that
half
high
of the
joint,
job.
like, can we turn it down? Do you not hear that?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Or just,
It's about where you place things, and it's also just your taste. Like, how do you hear the song?
yeah.
Like, there's always that thought when you hear something and you're like, man, this is dope, but it would be better if it had this.
I think
Or-
I'd like to, sorry to cut you, Adam mentioned that mixing as you go includes recording it very well
Oh, yeah.
on the way in. You know, just, I would love for there to be more clarity. The people think mixing, they'll think it's like EQs and just stuff like that, right? It's like,
Yeah.
dude, it starts from the moment it hit the mic.
I would say 90% of mixing is like just really good edits and really good balancing. Like,
oh yeah. Cleaning up as you go.
yeah,
Even just that in of itself,
Exactly.
you know, cleaning up any breaths. Like if you have 16 stacks
yeah,
of whatever 4 notes,
yeah.
let's clean up the whatever in between,
That's
or
half the
the
job.
beginning, the end, like clipping,
Yeah.
fading stuff. But that's like you have to be doing that as you're recording,
Mm-hmm.
as you're going. So damn, that's really cool though. So that's really interesting. I've never heard of that. Like, yo, can I just mix this? Yo, like
I mean,
that
why
kind of
not?
energy.
I was already broke. Like, I had nothing but time. I was like 23, 24 years old. Like,
Right.
what else am I going to do? Like,
Right.
I moved down here. I had my cousin. That's it. Like, I didn't know anybody. So it's like, I'm either going to spend my time walking around getting to know the city, or I'm exposed to the people I want to be around. So,
And you just never really wanted to be a recording guy, huh? Like not for real, for real.
I did it out of necessity. I mean, even mixing, I did it out of necessity, but I realized when I was younger that I didn't mind being in a room for 12 hours by myself, making something sound better.
Right.
Just didn't mind it. Plus, I'm an only child.
Not
Like,
eating.
I'm just
you
used
forget.
to it. Yeah, it's like I step out the room and it's the next day, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. No, for real. I know at one point you were involved with like the Grammys from even earlier on. Maybe I can remember as early as like 6-7 years ago. But it was something called Music Cares or something like that. Like what, like where, how did that influence anything in the way that you're involved with the Grammys now that you're the governor of the Atlanta chapter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Music Cares made me see that it was a real thing. Like, I think a lot of us have this misconception that the Grammys is like its own thing, and even though you make music, maybe your voice isn't heard in that realm, you know, especially if you're a part of like rap records or street records or whatever. Like, you're like, okay, cool, like good for them. But my wife, Martina, who introduced me to the whole recording academy thing, like I wasn't really checking for it. It was 1 month, probably when I first like stepped away from working with Tricky and really put on the name tag, like, yeah, I'm a mixer. Of course, that's what I identified as, but I didn't get that much recognition on the outside. So, you know, I would have 2, maybe 3 mixes in the month. That wasn't enough to pay the bills. That wasn't enough to do really anything. So she recommended I reach out to Music Cares. This was like maybe this was 2018 or something. And yeah, they actually helped pay for my rent that month. And that's when
Okay.
I was like, oh, y'all are like actually y'all actually care. Yeah, like damn, all right,
that's
cool. And then from that point on, like I was interested in just learning more about it. Obviously, TK, shout out TK, Tom Kidd. He was always a part of the Recording Academy. Tricky was, and a handful of other people that I know. So I loosely knew about it, but after that, I was like, okay, let me start trying to figure out what's going on here. And
So is that something that anybody can take advantage of? Like,
I
what?
believe so. I don't know the criteria, to be honest, but
Okay. But
it
you
wasn't
knew
much
enough
because I wasn't
people-
in it.
Right.
Yeah.
You knew enough people that kind of guided you.
Yeah,
towards the
exactly.
thing.
Exactly. And really, it was something I could have Googled. I just didn't know it existed.
Right.
Like that was
Right,
all,
right.
you know, Martina put me onto that, but it worked.
And then after that, did you just continue just staying in like kind of like in the know with the whole recording academy and the
Yeah.
Grammys?
Yeah, I would say reluctantly. Like I very much identified as the guy that's just in the studio, like studio rat. You know, I didn't see myself as the guy that puts on the suit and goes to the events and shake hands and kiss his baby. Like I didn't see that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where she was at in her journey, and I would just accompany her as the plus one. And you know, you get to know people. You're like, oh, that's such and such. Oh yeah, I saw you last time. You good? And then we ended up getting in conversation, and I realized like, wow, these are real people. And this person might be the VP of this. This person might be the, head of this, but they're people.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I realized there's a gap, and I don't feel like there's enough people like me that represent people like me. So that's when it became like abundantly clear, like, all right, I should start taking this serious.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then so now so fast forward like 5 years or so, now you're the governor. What does that even mean? What does that mean that you're the governor of the Atlanta chapter for the Grammys and the Recording Academy?
Yeah, so I'm on the board, and there's a handful of us on there. To be honest, I just started, so I can't even say I fully know what it means, like in totality.
Okay.
But it's all centered around, getting more voters, more collaboration, spreading the kind of the message of all that's good with the Recording Academy. And there is a lot that's good. It's just, you don't see it from the outside. So there's different committees and stuff that we're a part of to really help that. There's advocacy, sometimes, you talk to people in political power and things like that about, and shining a light on the creatives that may not get their just due.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things. And like I said, I'm learning by the day, but it's actually a lot cooler than I would have ever expected.
Is there like a lot of, like, let's say like the political side of things? Does it feel like that? Does it feel like what we might imagine like the politics of everything to be?
I don't think so. Like I said, I'm still learning, but from what I've seen, it's been pretty cut and dry,
Okay.
And everything has its own just organization to it, but politics, like I don't really see that too much.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, they're trying to do their best. Like the Recording Academy in of itself, right, is trying to do their best to just promote probably like good work, working with good people. Like you said, collaboration. Collaboration is super important to me.
Yeah.
It's like, it's one of those things that like we can't do this by ourselves. Phil Tan one time told me like, we're just a piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I feel like everybody is a piece of the puzzle.
Exactly. And I think that's a big thing is like, there's so many genres, and there are more now than there were before.
There's so many categories.
Like, so it's like, how do you make sure everybody is heard? Mm-hmm. And if you shine a light on this group, then this group feels unseen, So I could imagine it's difficult to, really make sure everything is taken care of and everyone is seen and all that stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I remember, I think like maybe like 2023, they had added like a couple more, even like a few more categories. Mm-hmm. Like one that I remember was like game audio.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
exactly.
Oh yeah, like why isn't that getting Grammys?
Exactly.
Because I don't play video games, but I'm assuming
you don't play video games?
No, I don't play no video games.
Like even as a kid?
I played a little bit.
What'd you play?
Bro, I had a PS2 and I had 2 games for it. That's it.
That's it?
I would rent the games at Blockbuster.
Oh, that's fair.
You know what I mean? So I would rent them.
That's a Nintendo boy.
I had a Super Nintendo.
I had one of those.
Now I have a like maybe like when I was still at Full Sail, 10 plus years ago, I had bought a dual joint. It's like somebody made a dual. It's like a NES and a Nintendo.
Oh, for real?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It was
So I
real?
still have that. I still have it.
You still play it?
I'll pop it up like every now and then.
Oh yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you guys see the new PlayStation Classic coming out?
Nah.
I think I did see that.
It's the 30th anniversary, so it's like
Oh, I saw a post
it's
about
like an
that.
OG thing, and it'll include all the old games. It's like
Really?
it's crazy.
I feel like I have a really unrealistic sense of nostalgia because I think I'm better at video games than I actually am. So when I play something that I played as a kid and I get worked and then I get mad, it's not very fun. Like I played Call of Duty.
Why do you do that to yourself?
I
Just
tried
don't
to play
play
Halo once.
Just
and
don't
I
play
was like,
video
man,
games.
I used to be
See?
fire at Halo. And I went online, bro. I had like 2 kills. It was so embarrassing.
Call of Duty for me, yeah.
Yeah, like it ain't it.
Yeah.
That's why I do music.
Right.
Question: were you guys at the? Did you guys go to the same Grammys?
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
saw you there.
Yeah.
He brought his mom. That was cool.
We went. I had to.
Yeah.
I had to bring my mom.
I still got to do that.
Both of you
I
were
haven't done
nominated that year.
We were both nominated
Yep.
that same year.
Yep. Slight flex.
Because I feel like we started in Atlanta around the same time, right?
Yeah, I feel like you may have started a year before me. We're the same age,
Maybe.
but I think you started a year before me.
Was your first internship silent?
Mm-hmm.
That was your very first internship?
Mm-hmm.
How did that go?
Loved it. Looking back on it, for sure. I would not be here if it wasn't for that.
For just interning in general? Or
Yeah. I mean, it taught me more. It was small things that it taught me. It wasn't the traditional internship where, you're in the room and tracking people and doing all this stuff. Like we already had that. That wasn't
Mhm.
needed from interns. But it was
Right.
more the service side that was needed. And it taught me to get comfortable being around A-list stars.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
also,
important.
Yeah. I mean, like everybody feels like, like, oh yeah, it's just such and such, like be cool. But there is a learning curve.
There's a way.
Because it's not just being cool, it's about like giving them what they need while
Mhm.
also being cool, while also
being out the way.
being out the way. And
Yeah,
that's it's an art to that,
Yeah. Yeah, for
so
sure.
Silent taught me that for sure. And I feel like I learned it pretty quickly, but you'd be surprised how many people never learn that,
Right.
No,
yeah. They never catch on to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just telling Esco the other day too that it's like it's a different vibe when you have to be the guy for like the A-listers
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Cause like I see other engineers that are more in the indie side of things. Like they might have 100 clients in the indie side, but they're the man. They're
Right.
like they are the man when they step into thing
Yeah.
in the studio. But then there's like a different vibe
Yeah.
when you're with the A-lister because you're dealing with millionaires.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And these guys
Multiple
have
millionaires.
These people have multiple millionaires.
Yeah.
And then they all have their own little separate ego and their divaness and whatever. And then you just got to navigate that.
Yeah,
And so
I mean,
it's
that's an art, like I know you used to do it like well. I mean, it takes a certain type of personality to be able to do that. There's a learning curve, but you also just have to be a certain person to understand and pick up on egos and say like, okay, where do I fit in here? And how do I make sure everybody gets what they need while also not getting like, nobody gonna try me,
right. Exactly.
Like, because you could be too cool to the point where people start talking to you crazy. Don't ever be that.
Exactly.
Like you still gotta have some respect in the room too. So while also realizing you're the bottom of the totem pole as far as like stars in the room.
Right.
If it's
right.
this star and they're doing a feature with this person, but then this producer comes in, but then their manager comes in, and then this, it's like you are the lowest person on the totem pole in this room. Once you walk out of this room, you're a big man on campus.
Yeah.
But in this room, you got to do your job and shut the hell up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool.
And that's the best position if you know, you know.
Mhm.
Like, you want to be the bottom of the room because you take everybody's sauce. And then you
Exactly.
put it together and make your own fire recipe.
Well, that's the key to getting better, is being in rooms that your skills aren't good enough to be in yet. When your personality gets you in the room, because that's when you're around like people that are genuinely great and you're just like absorbing everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I felt during the Donda stuff, because you did the Donda stuff with me, and that was really interesting because I had just left from recording Future and being with Future every day. But in that camp, nobody knew me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple of times where one young kid, he's a producer, he tried to pipe up, and I'm just like, whoa, like, do you know who I am? Not to say it in that way, but it's just like, hey man, like, I'm not just new to this. Like, I've been doing this for a while.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like half of your playlist.
So, but even at those levels, like, you still play the role, you know, and you try to make that person happy, or you try to, you know, accommodate for, oh, okay, we want to move 1,000 miles an hour. Okay, I guess we're moving 1,000 miles an hour.
Exactly.
You know?
I think it's easy at first, but the more you grow and the older you get, the more you gotta, like, at least for me, like, maintain that mindset of, I'm here to serve. Like, you can't ever lose sight of that, because you might do a mix for somebody and the artist might be like, yeah, look, I'm looping in my producer. He has notes. And the producer could be some 20-year-old, whatever the hell. And his notes, he got this huge stack of notes, and your first instinct is like, bro, what? Like, how old are you?
Yeah.
But then it's like, well,
like, you got too much time. You have way too much time.
Yeah. It's like, you listen to this on every speaker and you like dissecting every single thing I did. But then it's like, well, I'm also here to serve. Like, y'all brought me on to serve the record. And I have to separate the ego side of it for the record to actually have a chance in the real world. And even though this kid might be 20 years old or 19 years old, there's a reason he's here. And he might be the next Pharrell, for all I know. So you got to treat everybody with a sense of respect, because you never know who's who. And I think so many people get to a certain point or attain a certain level of success to where they start bucking up on everybody. Like, you can't tell them anything.
Oh my goodness.
And then it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. Like, that same record, do you know I did this? Like, they're going to be doing that till they're an old man, because that was their biggest record. They're not going any bigger because their ego won't allow it.
Right. Is that something that you look for, say, like when you were studying, and you probably still study a lot of greats and stuff like that, but who is somebody that you studied a lot, that you, like, not only took in their, like, musical taste, but also their, like, the way, maybe you've seen them on interviews or stuff like that?
They're the obvious ones. I mean, me and you used to talk about Manny ad nauseum at one point. Just because I appreciate how he can just be the cool guy in the room. Like, he's the definition of, like, the chill guy with his hands in his pocket, you know? But skillfully, he's as good as anybody, if not better than basically everybody, you know, skillfully. There's also serving, obviously, there's not a lot of documentation on him, so I assume he's cool, because
you just assume that,
dealt
like,
with so many people, you kind of have to be. I've probably been around Jason a lot over the years, just, you know, from proximity with Tricky. And I learned a lot from a lot of OGs, like, shout out Dexter Simmons and, you know, Giandre, people like that.
Shout out Giandre Diaz.
Yeah. Shout out Giandre.
Super knowledgeable.
And yeah, just really appreciate those type of conversations. Obviously, Sam Thomas, I guess, like an older brother to me.
Oh yeah.
Miles Walker here in town. There's just so many people that really spent that time to have these convos with me. And sometimes it's just a matter of somebody saying, like, yo, chill, like, you're on your way. Just, it's a process. Even that is great advice.
Who gave you that advice, or what?
I would say Miles was probably the first one when I used to intern at Silent Sound.
Okay.
I'm like, man, I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm going to have 1,000 Grammys and this. And like, obviously all within doing my job as an intern, but I would just have moments, it wasn't even a complaining thing. It was more just like overly ambitious. Like, man, I want that. And I want to do this. And I want to do this. And he would just kind of be like, just, because you remember his room, like, he had everything. This was back in 2015.
Right.
And it was like, dang, you got the Barefoots and the Antelope 10M, and you got all these, like, Summit mixers and blah, blah, blah. And every time somebody came into town, they would kick it with Miles for a second. Like when Josh Goodwin and Justin Bieber would come into town, then they'd all hang out.
Yeah.
Dang, that's cool. And
I re-
Tume, like all of them.
I remember when he got his foots, and he
Is that
was
what they
just
call
so.
them? They call them foots?
I call him foots. Barefoots. You know, I call him
That's
foots.
pretty cool.
I'm just trying to be cool, man.
I get it.
Fuck.
Society
it.
Sound coined it first. Society
Okay.
Sound.
Can we get a
call them
sound?
the
Can we
foots.
get a beer, beer, beer? All right.
You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Okay.
The
I hate
foots.
y'all.
That's what it.
Told y'all not to use the damn pam 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 pam.
No, you gotta spam that.
Yeah, I remember when he first got his foots, and he was just so excited, and it just sounded so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
What are you on? What are you monitoring on?
I'm an ATC guy.
Word.
I've been spoiled for some years to have ATCs.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first time I used them was because Jason came into town in like 2017 or something to do something with Mike Will. And we had to scramble around town. For some reason, I always find myself being like tech support for everybody. But they were like, man, we need this and we need that. We need UAD cards and ATCs. Blah. So I was appointed to figure it all out, which I did. So we got some 25s in Tricky's room, and we set them up, and I just remember listening to stuff on them like, what am I hearing? They were like projectors. It's like the speakers weren't even there. It was just like this phantom thing that was happening. And I was like, I don't know how, but one day I'm going to have these.
Right.
And
You're like, how much are these?
I looked at the price and it did make me mad, but especially because I couldn't pay my rent at the time. But in my mind, I was like, somehow I'm going to find my way to have these.
Right.
And I did, and I had them ever since.
Yeah. So, because you've worked on like Amphions, you've worked on Barefoots,
Mhm.
you've worked on, I think at one point, do you still have your NS10s?
Nah, you remember I sold those?
Oh, no,
Remember
I
I
don't remember
painted
that.
them blue?
Yeah. That navy blue was
Those
nice.
were fire, yeah.
Navy blue was nice.
And I sold them, sadly. I had 2 pairs before.
Word.
Honestly, man, like, I think you can get used to any speaker. Like, I don't...
Mm-hmm.
At first, I used to think there was some, like, elitist, oh, if you have this speaker, then you're in the game. But to be honest, you could do anything with anything.
One of the coolest stories of that I can think of is when I heard that Mike Stent, I think they call him Spike.
Yep.
They call he mixes off of this like, well, for a long time he was mixing off of the speaker, like a mono speaker that was on the SSL. I can't remember the model.
Oh,
or
I
nothing.
did read that on Sound
Right?
Sound. Yeah.
Something. I
Yeah.
remember where I saw it.
Yeah.
And years later, since I guess he moved on to a different workflow, probably not using that same console, but he had that same little speaker built out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I guess the legend says that he still mixes off of that.
Oh, it's working. It's
Yeah,
working.
right?
He's a legend. He's another one I studied. Him, Tony Maserati,
Right.
everybody you can think of, but
Right.
his mixes are fire. I love Spike Stent.
Yeah, they're so dynamic. They're so like, they just feel good.
They make you feel something. Those are the best mixes.
Exactly.
And they don't have to hit all the technical benchmarks. Like, if it makes you feel what you want to feel, it's right.
What's the hardest thing for you when you're mixing? Like the most difficult, like give you a fucking headache. Like what? It's like clients.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if it has anything to do with the mix.
No, but mix wise, like something with like, what's the thing that is like the hardest thing for you to do while you're mixing, whatever?
I would say trying to, like, if you know when you first hear a song and you have a vision for what it can be, but then you hear the rough and you're like, well, it's a long road between what is and what if, and just finding that happy medium between the two. Sometimes it's an easy thing. Sometimes it's like, if we stick to the rough, like we lost. Like this isn't going to do anything in the real world.
Right.
And trying to like pull teeth to get them to see it kind of your way, but also honoring what they gave you. And sometimes they're just fixed to what they have, and you just got to play ball. Like, hey, I guess we're going to do this super loud, bright, tinny thing.
Yeah.
But that is difficult. And I pray to get out of that ethos to where, you know, if you call me for my opinion or my taste, that's what you get at all times.
Yeah.
But I think that that's something you have to work towards. I don't know if you get that out the gate because I don't know if they trust you 100% out the gate.
I think that I was that kid for Jason when I remember when we were doing Future's The Wizard, and he wanted Jason to mix a bunch of songs, and I was that kid that is like 26,
Yeah.
sending these mixes off to Jason, Joshua, and they come back, and I have like a laundry list of fucking notes.
Yeah.
So it's like even at that point, he's done so much, and he's won so many goddamn Grammys.
Right.
And even at that point, you still run into that one kid that is like, yeah, but I want it this way.
And that's like everywhere you turn. Like,
and I could have been wrong. You know?
Exactly. But that's
I'm
what you
also
felt.
listening to other people too. Like, hey, tell him to do this. Hey, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's like it's not. It wasn't entirely me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But it's like, as the mixer in that situation, you get a laundry list full of notes. You get like a whole, scroll of notes, and you like,
yeah,
we're not hearing this the same way.
Exactly.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So that is a challenge, and I think it's getting more challenging because everybody has the same tools. I think at one point it was like you kind of had to like, let it go to the person with the SSL or knows how to work the board. But now it's like the producer has the same tools the mixer does. So he's going to take it even further than he used to take it because he can. He has between AI tools, between all these different things, like by the time it gets to you, it's like the song is kind of deadlocked to what they want it to be.
Right.
You don't have you have inches of space to do your thing. So you can't make macro changes. You can only make micro changes. You're basically pre-mastering in a lot of cases these days.
Yeah.
So it really is a blessing when you get those artists or those producers or writers or just teams that they actually do want you to do your thing. And then you guys kind of meet in the middle and it's this like cool, beautiful thing. But it's not super common right now.
Yeah. Everybody thinks they're right now. Everybody thinks they're right. Everybody feels like, because they've learned whatever it is that they've learned on YouTube University.
Exactly.
I think that's one thing that we want to do here at Society, man, is like, like what we used to do with An Evening With, right?
Yeah.
So we had that idea of like getting you as a beginner to come to a studio, a really nice studio, to learn from somebody. Like I would pay $1,000 to go see Manny, just not in the south of France. Please, can we just do it here? I mean, now
you would only pay $1,000?
No, I mean, I would pay a lot more, but I'm just saying, I
would give your arm to go see Manny.
Solid. We could do that.
All right.
But I would pay a good amount of money to go see him. That's not I don't think that's the point, right? The point is like, man, like if we could just get in the rooms with people and really touch them and really give back, you know what I mean? I think that's the thing that we're really trying to do. What's something that you feel like you want to dive in during your mix shop coming up?
So honestly, I want to be able to assess everybody that's in the room and assess their skill level and their talent level and really hone in on the things that they feel like they're struggling with. Because I know, when we were coming up, that was a big thing. Like if I could just, like you said, sit with Manny or sit with this person and say like, man, I just can't get my drums to hit. And somebody's like, oh, pull up the session. And they can kind of like, almost like a doctor go in and say like, oh, that's why. Like this is hitting this, or you have this limiter, your gain staging, or this, and I feel like because we're in an intimate setting, we can do that. If it's, a huge hall with 100 people, you can only do so much.
Yeah.
So everybody has their own specific challenge. It may be a conversation of like, man, I just can't find clients. Let's talk about it. Maybe we can, break down your process and help you build a better playbook. Not to say I'm the guru of all of this stuff, but if we're here, it's like a personal trainer, and I can help you at least get further than where you're at.
I'd always like to listen to the person who has the Grammy in the room, for sure. So may not be a guru for your standards, but
No, I mean,
people
I'm
should
definitely,
open their ears for sure.
yeah. I mean, and that would be, especially in Atlanta, I feel like we don't have a ton of that right now. So, and ideally, I'm the right person for the job to help, as far as maybe Afrobeats or R&B or whatever genre really, because a lot of it is transferable skills.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that like we lost at some point, maybe like in the 2010s, we lost this like uh learning curve that you used to get from the studio tech. Like the studio tech is damn near non-existent anymore.
Literally
Like,
non-existent.
yeah, there's techs that'll work around town, but they have to like
Yeah, they'll pull up when there's a
essentially
problem,
freelance.
but
Yeah,
they're not in the back room where you could just talk to them about gear.
exactly.
It's not happening.
And so, but imagine how much game you would get from a studio tech back in the day, and you just get to ask those questions because they're playing their role,
Yeah,
right? But you're trying to, learn from them to play this other role.
exactly. Exactly.
I think it was Westlake in LA that I really liked their internship program. They were like, you sit at a desk just answering calls for the
That's
first
the one
like
when you first walk in. It's that big old room with the desk. The
I
one
think
Michael
so.
Jackson
Yeah,
had like
yeah,
the
yeah.
monkey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think it's that one.
Yeah.
That they have this really special program because they go, you're only answering calls and opening doors for the first 6 months. And then you have to graduate to be the intern. Then you're like running. Then you do runs. And then you intern with the tech first. And you do 6 months of that. And then you get to like intern for the rest of the studio. Which is
That is fire.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's like, well, you don't even have to go to school.
Thorough, very thorough.
That is fire.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel like there's enough gear these days to even do that?
Right. Yeah, no, it's
feel like that's half the challenge.
even the assistant position is kind of gone, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're working at like say like a Tree Sound or like a Madison where like the engineer does need assistance, like literally because we're miking up drums, we're miking up different instruments,
Yeah.
making sure everybody's good,
Yeah.
all of those things that like, I mean, that's a I guess like kind of like a different side of the whole thing,
But a necessary side.
but necessary,
Like
Yeah, very necessary. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the mix shop. I'm excited to have you and open up damn near the whole thing because we had an evening with. And we tried to kind of reinvent it a little bit, you know, and just kind of just have the opportunity for people to really learn from somebody in person and not like in YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I
man.
agree.
It's going to be fun.
Preston, do you feel like I'll give you my opinion first. I'm a person that avoided YouTube.
You avoided
I
YouTube.
avoided information.
That's like
online.
a job to avoid it.
Yeah. I avoid. Actually, I'm not actually into any mix engineers, or I never watch. So
This is serious?
I'm 100% serious, and
How?
because I learn from my peers way more. I learned from people in the room way more. I decided to go to school because I was like, I can't read any more articles. Like, I don't know what FOH means. Like, this doesn't mean anything to me, And so I was like, I just need to learn. So I've learned way more from my peers and being in the room with you guys than ever. So
Yeah.
I avoided YouTube, and then now more than ever, I feel like there's a lot of misinformation. Like, so maybe there used to be good information that was either good, okay, but people who really tried. But now I see so much misinformation, which is like, dude. So how do you feel about that and like that much content going up like that?
I feel like that's where there's a responsibility for like all of us to just talk, like I'm not saying we're like the last of the Mohicans or anything like that, but we went the traditional path. You go to school, you do the internship thing. I didn't even finish school, but I did the internship thing. I did the assistant thing. Then I was the tracking guy for a bit. And I, kind of weaseled my way into being the mixer, and I embraced the role, and here we are. But there's a learning curve to each of those steps. And I don't know if you can learn those steps by just YouTube, especially when it's been a little diluted with a lot of people that just see monetary value in having a YouTube channel. So now every week they got to come up with the topic because they don't actually have something useful to share. They just need it for their Patreon page or whatever.
Or they're asked, because I see this a lot too, where I'm like, I know you're not really messing with that plugin, but you have to promote it because maybe they're paying you a little
and that's
promotion thing or
and
whatever.
That's the thing, like.
And so you're spreading this thing where it's like, what is this for? Like, what is
exactly.
this?
But
are you actually using this?
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, the teaching of it isn't necessarily to give to the end consumer. There's so much in between. There's so many reasons why people are teaching now. And it's rarely just because I want to help, you know?
Mm-hmm. Shout out to actually, very good topic. Shout out to Billy Hume.
Oh yeah, I just met him not long ago.
So Billy's a mentor of ours, and so me and some of my friends, but his YouTube just blew up, so he had one video just went like 250,000 now or something crazy. His Instagram blew up earlier this year, and honestly, on all of his comments, because he gets so much engagement in those videos, and there are like finally someone that's not trying to sell me something, and just really cares about the information they're putting out here.
Exactly.
And on top of that, his stories are incredible because he's like Lil Jon and Eastside Boy, Kings of Crunk. He's like OG, party like a rock star. Those are his guitars because he's a musician. Yeah, and his game is just super honest and real, man. So shout out to Billy Hume.
Yeah, shout out Billy Hume.
Mix shop with Billy Hume coming up.
Mix shop with Billy Hume. Let's do it. Yeah,
we gotta do that. We gotta do another one of these, man, and just. Talk.
Keep chopping.
Yeah,
we should talk some more nonsense. I'm with that.
Yeah. More about you giving the arm or who's gonna give the arm so we can get
No, we
Manny
already
out
figured
here.
that part. That's a lock. You're on.
Locked. I'm like, it's on the calendar already.
Yeah, that's already locked. But for Serban, we just go give him Esco in general.
just the whole thing.
Yeah, just throw him in the trunk and
here
you go, Serban.
Hey man, that's that Wagyu. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Yeah.
Well, man, thank you, bro. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, man.
Thank you for sharing the gems. And I know there's going to be a lot more coming up December 21st.
21st.
Do you want to plug in your new stand-up special that's coming out or anything? Where can people find you?
Well, the stand-up thing is canceled.
Damn. Till further notice?
Yep.
Damn.
Till further notice.
I had already bought tickets.
I mean, you can still pull up.
You just won't be there.
Hey, Preston, man, super thankful, dog. I'm actually looking forward to the mix shop. See what you say, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise. What is that? A couple weeks from now?
Yeah.
Right before Christmas.
Yep. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a really interesting time, but I'm down.
Yeah, I'm with it. I'm always down for a good time.
Good job.
Yeah, man. Well, appreciate y'all having me. Man, those are some cool glasses. That's like,
man, what?
He's like the definition of a chill guy, man. Like,
yeah, this whole time he's not moving an inch from there.
I literally didn't even know he was there until I just looked to the right.
Except for when you take him to Miami, he's out of here.
Yeah, Miami Demon.
He lets loose.
Miami Demon.
Yeah. He went nuts in Miami. No, man, he went nuts, man.
I'm gonna do a Joe Rogan sign off, man. Hey, man, it was a pleasure, bro. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Peace.
Society Sound Popcast.